to arrive. So again, just finding out asana, however it may be, our seated posture. So again, we can sit cross-legged, we can sit on the knees if we're near a wall or a bed or a sofa, we can kind of budge up and kind of get comfy and supported against the wall. And again, we can just take those few moments to again find that posture, that position that feels comfortable. And then again, we just slowly bring our awareness to our body. So again, do we need to roll the shoulder blades back and down a little, lift up through the sternum. Back of the neck is long, chin is slightly tucked in, eyes are lightly closed. And again, we're working into that kind of, that fifth limb of yoga, that pratyahara, that point where we kind of transition from the very body, hatha type yoga to that Raja yoga, kind of the yoga of the mind. So again, we're just going to start to really kind of withdraw inwards. And we just start to just bring our awareness to our breath. So again, we don't put any intention on the breath to begin with. We just watch the breath, just become aware of the inhalation, aware of the exhalation. And just that whole body breathing. And then we can start to bring it into that yogic breath, or the free part breath, where we start to breathe into the belly or the diaphragm area, up into the chest, up into the collarbones. Again, we're filling the whole of the lungs. And then again, we can breathe out of the diaphragm, out of the chest, and out of the collarbones. And again, as we breathe in for that count of 6. As we exhale, we just have that slightly longer exhalation. So again, just really emptying the lungs on the exhalation. And then again, we can just start to also use this exhalation just to breathe out any kind of unwanted thoughts, stresses, worries, if that kind of chitta-vittri, as they call it in yoga, kind of the whirlings of the mind. And then we're just going to start to bring it into that Samavriti breath. So again, for me, I find this breath is a really good one to kind of take me kind of very much inwards. I find it's a very meditative breath. So this again is where we start to breathe in for 6. And then again, we breathe out for 6. So our inhalation, exhalation at equal counts. And then we start to add that little come back, or that little retention of the breath, or that pause of the breath. So again, we can breathe in for 6, We can hold with full lungs for a count of 3. Top of the inhalation. We can exhale for 6. And again, hold with empty lungs at the bottom of the exhalation for a count of 3. And just keep this rhythm going for a few breaths. Again, in for 6, hold for 3, out for 6. Again, hold with empty lungs for a count of 3. And then again, if it feels okay to come into that full Samavriti or box breath, where we breathe in for 6, we hold with full lungs for a count of 6, we breathe out for 6, and then again hold with empty lungs for a count of 6. We find we get slightly agitated with the holding of the breath, which can happen. We can stay with the 6-3 count. If you feel comfortable with that full retention, you can breathe in for 6, hold for 6, out for 6, and hold for a count of 6. And then again, we can just allow that breath after our next holding of our exhalation. You can just allow the breath to return back to its normal rhythm. Now we're just going to take a couple of moments here and just kind of sit in this little kind of quiet space, just for a few breaths. And again, just keep that focus just to the breath. And then the last little practice we're going to do here is we're going to play around with a japa mantra this week. So it's just a way again of kind of keeping the mind fixed. So again, sometimes counting the breath works, and it's like tradak focus gazing or kind of focusing on an image inside your mind's eye. And again, there's japa mantra, which is silent mantra. So we're going to use the Hamsa or the Soham mantra. So they both mean the same thing, I am that I am. One is more from the yogic tradition, one is more from the Buddhist tradition. So again, it's either they call it the mantra of the breath, it's either the Ham on the inhalation, the Sa on the exhalation. It's almost just like a sigh of the breath. So Ham, Sa, Ham, Sa. Or again, the opposite way around. So hum, so hum. So again, just like a soft exhalation. And again, just see which one resonates with you, because people tend to kind of resonate towards one variation. Again, either the hamsa or the so hum. And then again, we can just let go of the mantra. We're going to use it in the postures, again, to keep our mind focused, that pratyahara, that withdrawal. So again, we can just gently bring our hands together now if you want to. Maybe rub the hands together, create a little bit of heat. Bringing the hands up to the eye, maybe just gently blinking into that warmth and darkness of the hands. And bringing the fingertips onto the eyelids, gently massaging out the eyelids, onto the temples. Down the side to the jaw, to the chin. And then we're just going to come into our first posture. So we're going to do a supported one here. So this is where we're going to use either our bolster or our pillows. Or again, 2 yoga blocks. We've got 2 yoga blocks and a pillow will do. So we're also going to have our band when we come out of this one. So we're going to come into that supported kind of heart opener, supported back bend. So this is where we kind of have our bolster kind of along the mat, and we're going to bring our kind of spine and our back to be supported here on the bolster. So again, just depending on how comfortable you are with back bends, some of you might have your bolster or your cushions right down towards your kind of the base of the spine. Some of you might find a little bit higher, so maybe it's just kind of the thoracic part, that rib cage area. Again, sometimes if you come back, and again, especially if you've got using a bolster, because bolsters are quite high, often if you practice on a couple of pillows, it can actually be slightly more supportive or more comfortable because you're not as high. But again, if you find that it's a little bit too much for your neck, which I often do, I'm not very comfortable in back bends, I often bring again another little block, a pillow, a rolled up blanket or something just underneath my head, so my head's just a little bit lifted. So again, I just don't feel like I've got that really, really strong kind of opening across the front of the neck, which I am quite uncomfortable with. So we're going to get comfortable here. So again, we can stretch the legs out, we can have soles of the feet together, knees flopped out to the side. I actually quite like to kind of cross my ankles almost, kind of cross my, kind of bring my kind of feet together. And then again, we're just going to, again, work a little bit with the arms. So just find a position that feels comfortable here for the upper body. So we can have the arms by the side, have them a little bit more out to shoulder level. And we're going to stay here for quite a bit of time. So I want you to get super comfortable here and super relaxed into the pose. Get my little timer. And then again, once we've found that little comfortable position, like we always do in the yin stretches, we just start to get nice and comfortable. And then again, once that body is kind of comfortable here, we've got that nice chest opener, those arms stretched out to the sides. We just got to start to feel that kind of sense of opening through the front of the body, maybe breathing into that heart center. And then again, we're just going to use, again, the mantra just to keep our mind fixed here. So like we did last week where we practiced that pratyahara, that sense of withdrawing, but last week we really focused kind of on our body and the sensations and the stretches, how we really kind of embodied the poses, tried to really kind of sink into them, kind of breathe into wherever you feel it. Tonight we're going to try and use the kind of the Hamsa or the Soham mantra again, just to keep that mind fixed. I remember one of my meditation teachers years ago from the Dent Meditation Centre said about mantra being like a mind trick, like just a way of keeping kind of the lower mind kind of distracted, so your higher mind, buddhi mind, can kind of go off and do its thing and connect to kind of that higher source. So again, we're just going to use the Hamsa, that Soham mantra. And again, when that mind wanders off, as it will, you just bring it back to that repetition of the mantra, that mantra of breath. And then again, we can just take a couple of moments, bring our awareness back to the body. We're going to come straight from here into another little shoulder opener, chest opener, heart opener. So we're just going to slowly kind of bring our feet onto the floor. And then just gently kind of lift up. And then all we're going to do is we're going to swing the bolster. So the bolster is now across the mat. And we're going to have the bolster again, it just depends on how comfortable we are here in back bends. So we might have the bolster so it's kind of below the shoulders. The head is dropped right back. You can have the head again on the floor. You can have the head supported on a block. Again, if you don't like that really strong kind of open through the neck, which I find particularly uncomfortable. And again, if you're not so comfortable there with a big kind of chest opener, you can maybe feel more comfortable if the bolster is actually kind of just underneath the shoulder blades. And again, the head is just maybe kind of dropped back and supported on a block. Again, if you don't have a block, a hard back book with maybe a pillow doubled up on side and a couple of cushions on side just to support the head a little bit. Again, some people are really comfortable, kind of have their head dropped right back, chest really open. Just depends on how comfortable you are in back bends here. And then again, in this position, as always with those yin stretches, we're going to get really kind of comfortable here. We want the lower back to be nice and kind of relaxed if we can. Working now a little bit more into that kind of rib cage thoracic area, real heart center. And again, the same thing here. We can have legs stretched out, we can have feet together, we can have knees on the kind of knees bent, feet on the floor. We can kind of have legs crossed a little bit. And again, we can just have the arms relaxed, maybe kind of on the bolster, maybe out to the side, maybe stretch right out to the side. So you feel it's the best for you. And then again, we just take a few moments here. Sorry guys, my spatial awareness is really bad tonight. Keep banging and bumping into things. And again, we just find that supported position here for the body. Start to really kind of open up through that upper body, through that heart center. And imagine we're kind of breathing in through the heart center, through the front of the heart center, and maybe out through the back. And then again, we can just start to use our little japa mantras, again that little silent repetition, just to keep the mind fixed, that monkey mind. Keep it focused, that repetition of the mantra, the awareness of the breath. And again, as always, when that mind wanders, we just bring it back to the breath, to the mantra. And again, we just bring our awareness back to the body. Let go of that mantra. We're going to come into a little rebound here. So again, just take a few moments to relax. So again, we can bring those feet down onto the floor. We can gently bring the hands down, gently push ourselves up. We can bring our props out. Just going to bring the props out to the side. And then again, just slowly coming down onto your backs. And again, just taking a few moments here just to get comfortable. And then now, just for the little rebounds, we're going to kind of work into how we did last week. So again, just that. And then coming into the body. So again, after holding those kind of poses, we held each pose for roughly about 5 minutes. After holding those back bends for about 10 minutes, just how does the body feel? Again, just kind of tuning in. Start by just becoming aware again of the parts of the body that press into the floor as we exhale. We just soften down into those areas. And then again, kind of how do we feel? We need to just breathe into any areas. As we exhale, allow those areas to soften. And often with the yin stretches, is that sometimes sense of fragility if you held the poses for a while. And especially back bends, I find personally for myself, again, I struggle with back bends, and they're very wide open pose, and I struggle with that sometimes. And definitely not my go-to poses. And then again, we can just slowly kind of move the body however feels comfortable. So again, we can wiggle the fingers and the toes, stretch the head from side to side. We can make some bigger stretches if we want to, bring a little bit more movement into the body when we're ready. And then again, we're going to come into one last little back bend, which I wasn't planning on doing, but actually I just really feel like it'd be nice to kind of finish off the back bend. So the last little one we're going to do is a supported bridge. So again, now we're kind of working a little bit more through the kind of the belly, kind of the quads, the pelvis, kind of the lower kind of part of the body. So again, this is where we're just going to kind of bring our feet again onto the floor. We can again just have our head relaxed on the floor, arms kind of relaxed down by the sides. And again, we can use our bolster here. We can use a couple of blocks with a pillow on top, a hardback book with a pillow on top. So again, we can gently just press into the hands, press into the feet as we kind of lift up into our bridge position. And then again, this is where we're going to grab hold of our bolster, and we're going to, or our props, and we're just going to bring it underneath again, maybe kind of the back of the kind of the hips. So again, the lower part of the spine, top of the bum. And again, we can just take a few moments here to get comfortable. And then we can just start to just find the stretch a little bit in the upper body to begin with. So again, we can maybe relax the arms out by the sides, bring the arms out over the head. Again, just that sense of just allowing the back of the shoulders, the back of the head, the back of the sternum, the heart center, to press down into the floor. And then again, we can start to find it a little bit here in the lower part of the body, so kind of the pelvis and the hip flexors a little bit. So again, we can just take both legs and maybe stretch both legs out a little bit. So we come into like more of a kind of long back bend, a long setu bandha. Again, I find that a little bit too uncomfortable for the psoas at the back of the body. So I always prefer to do one leg first. I'm going to keep my right leg stretched out, but I'm going to kind of bring my left leg back into that bridge position. So kind of left foot is just stacked underneath left knee. That for me just feels a little bit more comfortable. So I don't really feel that pull in the lower back. We're going to get that nice kind of openness through kind of the belly, kind of the front of the pelvis, the kind of the front of the psoas and the quad a little bit on that right side. And again, we can just soften here. Again, if you are doing sides of the body, I'll kind of roughly tell you when it's halfway through. Okay, so you can swap legs. Again, just that repetition of the mantra. Just breathing, mantra of the breath. And that mind fixed. And again, if we're doing sides, you can just swap sides now. So again, just stretching out the opposite leg. Bring the leg you've just stretched out into that bridge position. And again, just softening here, bringing that mind back to that mantra, that Hansa, the Soham. And then again, we can just slowly bring our feet back in. We can again bring those arms back down by the sides. You can press into the hands and the feet as we lift up a little. We can again maybe just roll again if you're using the bolster. You can just roll the bolster down a little bit, maybe bring it underneath your knees. If you're using blocks, just slowly sliding the blocks out, just rolling down the spine. Again, just come into a little rebound here. So again, just go into any comfortable position. Take a few moments here just to again relax the body. So again, just become aware of the parts of the body that press into the floor as we exhale. Just soften down into those areas. And then again, we can just tune in with that body, just kind of seeing how we're feeling, breathing into any areas, letting go of any tension, any kind of sensations, feelings. Again, just allowing everything to soften. And just relax and release a little. And then we're going to bring it a little bit more into the side body. So again, if you've got a bolster kind of underneath the knees, so we just kind of roll the bolster out so you can kind of stretch out your legs a little. And then again, we're just going to clasp either hands together. We're going to that little banana asana. So again, we can clasp the hands together. We can hook the thumbs if that feels better. We can bring those arms up above the head. So we're just bringing them onto the floor above the head. And then we're just going to take a few moments here. So again, we can maybe just kind of walk our feet towards that bottom kind of right-hand corner of the mat. We're going to start by stretching through that left side. So we just bring our feet towards the bottom right-hand corner of the mat. We take our arms and our head up towards the top right-hand corner. So again, we've got that stretch down through that left side now. And again, we can leave the hands together. We can unclasp the hands if we've got any tension or pinching in our shoulders here. We can again maybe turn the head to the right if that feels good. We get a little bit more stretch into the neck and that left shoulder. We can again leave the legs side by side, or again we can kind of cross that left ankle on top of the right, so we're kind of crossing the ankles. I feel that pull a little bit in that kind of IT band area, the outside of the left hip, left thigh here. See how that feels, so it feels okay to have the legs crossed, or again, legs just side by side. And then again, we just breathe. Here, as we exhale, we just let go of any areas of tension. We allow everything just to soften, lengthen, release. And again, we can use that repetition of the mantra of the breath, that japa mantra. And then again, we can slowly come back to center. We can again just swap sides now. So again, we can just walk our arms and our head towards that top left-hand corner. We can take the legs to the bottom left-hand corner. We can again play around with the position of the arms. So keep thumbs hooked, hands clasped. Do take the arms out to the sides a little bit more. Just kind of soften the elbows a little bit. Maybe you can feel that pinching in the shoulders at all. Again, if we turn our head to the left, how does that feel? And again, do we just leave the legs side by side, or do we kind of cross our kind of right foot this time over the left? Again, just start to feel that side stretch down through that right side body. And again, we just start to breathe into that mantra. Just way of keeping that mind focused. And then again, we can just slowly come back to center. And again, we can just take a couple of moments here. And just allowing the body to become nice and heavy. Allow the body just to be supported by the floor. So we just allow the weight of the body just to sink down into the floor. And then the next one we're going to do is just kind of building on from that. So again, we're just going to come into another little side stretch. We're going to come into another little twist now. So again, we're just going to come into that little universal twist. So again, we can just stretch out our right leg. And we're just going to kind of have that left kind of foot on the floor, the left knee bent. And again, we can kind of budge our hips a couple of inches over towards our left side. So again, our weight now starts to shift towards the right side of the bum cheek. And we can keep our left arm out at shoulder level here. So we can bring right hand over towards that left knee, left thigh, whatever feels comfortable here. And then again, we're just going to inhale. And as we exhale, just kind of drawing that left leg over. So we're kind of rolling over towards that right side here. And then again, we're going to play around a little bit here with the position of the arm, which is why I've swapped sides so you can see me. So again, you can keep the left arm out at shoulder level. You can maybe take it a little bit more into cactus arm. You can maybe kind of slide it a little bit more up towards, the side of the head. So again, just find that little kind of sweet spot that works for you. So again, you get that stretch a little bit through the front of the chest, maybe a little bit down through the side muscles, also a little bit into your kind of glutes, maybe piriformis a little here. And trying to really allow the left kind of shoulder blade, back of the left hand, just to relax down towards the floor. Or maybe onto the floor, just depends on how much tension we've got there at the moment. And again, same as always, we play around a little bit. So do we keep our gaze up to the ceiling? Do we turn our head to the right? Do we turn to the left? Do we keep the left foot just resting on the right leg? Do we drop it onto the floor on the right side? Do we even stretch it out along the floor on the right side, or support it on a bolster or a block if you've got it stretched out, or can even a wall or a sofa or bed or whatever you've got to hand? And again, we just relax here, become aware of the body pressing down into the floor, finding that sweet little spot that works for us. And again, that pratyahara, that sense of withdrawing inwards. We're so distracted by all the kind of external stimulus around us. Again, just that repetition of the mantra, that hamsa soham. Little kind of mind trick to just keep the mind focused on something. It doesn't kind of go off on its little tangent. And then again, we can slowly come back onto our backs. We can again just take that little moment just between sides. Again, just allow the body to sink down into the floor. Everything become heavy. And go any holding, any tension. And then again, we can just swap sides. So again, we can bring that left leg out onto the mat this time. Stretch that left leg out. We can bring the right foot onto the floor, right knee bent. We can budge our hips again a couple of inches over towards that right side. So as we do that, our weight kind of comes onto our left kind of bum cheek. We can take our right arm out to shoulder level, left hand over towards left hip, left thigh, left knee, wherever it's comfortable. And then again, we can just roll over towards that left side. So again, we're drawing that right leg over. We can play around here with the position of the right arm. So again, do we keep it shoulder level, cactus arm, take it a little bit higher. And again, the same with the legs. Do we keep our kind of right foot kind of resting on that left leg? Do we drop it onto the floor? Do we even stretch it out to the side? Do we support it on anything we've got to hand? And then again, just relaxing here into the pose for a few breaths. So again, just becoming aware of the parts that press down into the floor, softening into those areas. And then again, just like keeping the mind fixed. That mantra, that repetition. And then again, we can just slowly come back onto our backs. And again, just take a couple of moments here. So again, do you want to stretch out? Do you want to hug your knees in for a couple of moments? However feels good. Do you want to stretch the legs up to the ceiling? Again, just whatever you feel you need to do for a couple of breaths. And the last couple of stretches we're going to work into tonight, again, is working a little bit into our hips and our hamstrings. So this is where we're going to work with a band. So we're going to use lots and lots of props tonight. So again, hopefully you should just have your kind of band to the side. And we're just going to do a couple of little hamstring stretches and chucking a little half happy baby. So we're just going to kind of bring our right foot onto the floor here. Sorry guys. Bringing our left knee into the chest, just squeezing that left knee in for a couple of breaths. And then we're going to grab hold of our band, our scarf, whatever we've got to hand, towel, dressing gown cord. And we're just going to stretch that leg up to the ceiling. So I'm going to let you choose here, because we're going to hold these hamstring stretches for a couple of minutes on each side. So often with these ones, we start with a little bit of movement, kind of bringing the leg in, taking the leg away, a little bit releasing and deepening the stretch. So you can do that if you want. And again, normally we start with our opposite leg bend, because this just means your pelvis is in a bit neutral. But again, because it's more of a yin session, well, it's a yin class, we go into, again, just choose how you want to. So you can have your right knee on the floor and pelvis in more neutral position, just left leg stretched up. You might prefer to have your right leg stretched onto the floor. Usually slightly intensifies the hamstring stretch, but again, if your hamstring's feeling nice and long tonight, you might want to have your opposite leg stretched down. And then again, same thing. So I'm just going to keep count, but again, you can move a little bit with the breath if you prefer to begin. Just kind of releasing the stretch and deepening the stretch. Or again, you can just come to that point where you get a stretch and just kind of soften here and just relax into it. So again, whichever variation you prefer, whether you prefer to move a little, or whether you prefer to just come to that static point and just relax there. But again, just when you do come into a kind of position you hold, just check in a couple of places. So again, lower back wants to be soft. Again, relax the lower back, relax the psoas. We're just working into the hamstrings. So you don't want your leg too far towards you, so you start to actually tilt your pelvis a little bit. And then again, also kind of belly of the muscle here. So making sure you feel it in the middle of the back of the thigh, not deep in the bum, not behind the knee where it connects. And then that's all. And then once you've kind of got that sweet little spot here, we're just going to kind of relax into it for a few breaths. So obviously we'll have a little bit of tension here in the arms with holding the band. But we want to try and, again, have everything else soft. So again, our right leg is nice and relaxed. Our shoulders are pressing the floor, hopefully our elbows maybe kind of tucked into the floor as well. So we've just kind of got a little bit of tension in our forearms and our hands as we hold the band. Again, back of the shoulders, back of the sternum, back of the head press into the floor. And then again, we just breathe here for a few breaths. And again, just keeping that mind fixed, that little mind trick, that mantra. And then again, from this position, we're just going to come into that half happy baby here. So again, whatever feels good here for your hips. So again, you might just kind of keep the hand on the band, start to kind of bend your left knee, just bring your left knee towards your kind of left armpit. So you're kind of trying to bring the inside of the left thigh towards the outside of the kind of the chest. And kind of just hold on to your band, trying to have the sole of the foot up towards the ceiling. Again, sometimes it's kind of comfortable just to kind of hold on to your ankle. Sometimes the inside or the outside of the foot. And again, same thing here with the opposite leg. If you've got your opposite leg stretched out, the stretch will be a little bit intensified. If you have your opposite foot on the floor, you might find it's a little bit, it just takes a little bit of that intensity away, because then you're kind of stretching through both legs. The pelvis isn't quite in a neutral position. It's a little bit more kind of tilt. And again, just taking a few breaths. Again, I think I've said lots of times I used to hate this pose, and then Yin Yoga made me love it. I'm not going to hold this one as long, don't worry. Again, just bringing that mind to the breath, that repetition of the mantra with the breath. And then again, we can just release here. We might just hug that left knee in here for a couple of breaths. Squeeze the left thigh in towards the belly. And then again, we can just swap sides. So again, this time we bring our right leg up. We can either have our right knee hugged in. We can bring the band around the bottom of the foot. Stretch that leg up towards ceiling. And again, whatever works for you here, whether it feels best to keep your left foot on the floor, left knee bent, whether it feels good to have your left leg stretched out, whether you want to move a little bit before you come into that kind of static pose, whether you want to take the leg a little bit away on the inhalation, exhale, bring it a little bit closer. So again, maybe just kind of release the hamstrings a little bit of floss in there. So again, just whatever works for you in your body. It's what like Yin is all about, just finding what works for you. My favourite Yin teacher, Bernie Clark, always says, if you feel it, you're doing it in Yin. Doesn't matter what it looks like, doesn't matter what the person next to you is doing. If you feel it somewhere and it's working. And again, just that little making sure that the pelvis is in a kind of as much as a neutral position as you can be. Obviously, it would be less neutral if you've got your left leg stretched out. But again, just allowing your lower back to relax and soften. So again, we're not bringing that leg too far towards us. We're actually starting to take the stretch a little bit into the kind of the back as well. You can soften the knee. And we feel it in the belly, the middle of the back of the thigh. I suppose those connection points in the bum and the behind the knee. We're getting the same with the foot. So position of the foot. So if you have your foot soft, probably doesn't really affect the stretch. But again, if you press up through your heel a little bit, pull your toes towards you a little bit more, you might feel that again a little bit more in your calf. And again, just relaxing into it. And everything else become nice and heavy, letting go of any tension anywhere in the body. Breathe in here, exhaling, softening. And then again, that little half happy baby. So again, if we start to just bend that left knee, bring that left knee towards, sorry, not left knee, bend that right knee, bringing that right knee towards our right armpit. Again, maybe holding on to the band, maybe making that, getting our hand a little bit closer towards the foot, holding on to the band, then sole of the foot faces up towards the ceiling. Or again, maybe holding on to the ankle, inside of the outside of the foot. And again, you can also work into that other leg. So does it feel better to stretch that left leg out? Does it feel better to have our left foot on the floor, left knee bent? And then again, we can just release. And then we can just take a couple of moments here, just before we come into our little Shavasana, just to stretch out however we want to stretch out. So again, do you want to hug the knees in? Do you want to circle the knees, rock out the lower back? Do you want to stretch the legs up to the ceiling? So whatever feels good here, just take a couple of moments, just kind of stretch out the lower back. And then again, whenever you're ready, you're just going to come into comfortable Shavasana positions. Again, if you want to grab any kind of warmer clothes, if you want to grab a blanket, if you want to turn any lights off here, just take a few moments to get nice and comfortable on your backs. So again, we can just come into any comfortable Shavasana position. Have our arms and legs nice and relaxed out to the sides. And back of the neck is long, chin is slightly tucked in, eyes are lightly closed. Again, we can just make any little adjustments here. And then we can just slowly start to bring our breath into the body. So again, just breathe in from the top of the head right down into the fingers, the toes. Again, just focusing into any little areas of tension, tightness, discomfort in the body. And again, as we breathe out, just allowing those areas just to relax, and release and soften a little. And again, just breathe in from the top of the head right down into the fingers, the toes. And again, as we exhale, just allowing the weight of the body to just sink down into the floor. So let everything relax, release. And then we're just going to come back to our Samavriti breath here. So again, we're going to start to breathe in for 6. And again, breathing out for 6. Inhalation, exhalation, equal. And then we can start to add that little holding of the breath. So again, we can breathe in for 6, hold for 3, out for 6, and again, hold for a count of 3. And then we can come into that full Samavriti breath. So again, breathing in for 6, holding for 6, out for 6. And again, holding with empty lungs for a count of 6. And then the final part of that Samavriti breath is where we draw that little kind of yantra around the heart center. So again, as we breathe in 6, we draw that line and we visualize that line from the right hip to the right shoulder. As we hold with full lungs, we draw that line from right shoulder to left. As we exhale for 6, we draw that line from left shoulder to left hip. And again, as we hold with empty lungs, draw that line from left hip to right. Again, inhaling, right hip, right shoulder, holding, right shoulder to left. Exhale, left shoulder to left hip. And again, holding, full lung, empty lung, sorry, left hip to right. So we just bring our awareness back to the body, where that floor underneath is, the air on the skin. Breathe a little deeper. Can we take a couple of moments just to see how we feel here? And we can start to bring a little bit of gentle movement, wiggling our fingers, our toes a little, taking the head from side to side. Again, when we're ready to bring a little bit more movement into the body, we can do a gentle forearm stretch. Again, we can bring our hands together, maybe rubbing those hands together, create a little bit of heat. Bring the hands up to the eyes, gently blinking into that warmth and darkness of the hands. Fingertips onto the eyelids. Down the side to the jaw, to the chin. And then again, whenever you're ready, you can just rock out the lower back for a couple of moments. You can either find your way up into seated, or if you're uncomfortable, you can just stay on your backs. So thank you very much, guys.